Hi, I'm Michael McLean. Today I'm going to report on why the warehouse's acquisition of Clint's Crazy Bargains was an unsuccessful one. Clint's Crazy Bargains is a store in Australia that sells similar products to the warehouse. It's low-cost variety items. So back in 2000, the warehouse bought Clint's Crazy Bargains, and they bought that for 103 million, and that came with 117 stores in Australia and 3,000 employees. In 2002, they bought another company in Australia. It was called Silly Sollies, again a low-cost variety store, and they rebranded them as Yellow Sheds. In 2006, the warehouse sold the Yellow Sheds due to profit and sales figures dropping. They were sold to a private equity firm and renamed as Sam's Warehouse. And later, 2009, they went into administration, and they were bought by the same owner as Kathmandu, and that was for 59 million. And then it all ended in 2014, where all the stores were closed at an estimated loss of about 200 million for the owner. So for the warehouse, at the time, 2000, it seemed like a pretty good deal. Clint's and the warehouse were shared similar strategies. They were actually very good friends. The owner, Stephen Tyndall, and the CEO of Clint's, David Rickards, had known each other for years. The warehouse wanted to expand, especially into Australia, and Clint's was a growing firm, and they just didn't really know how. So they wanted help in managing a growing, larger company. Both had similar cultures. They're both family-based organisations with strong ethics, and they both knew the importance of having a high economy of scale. At the time, a very high Australian dollar meant that it was profitable to buy Chinese products and then sell them on cheaper to the Australian consumer. And as I said, both of those companies at the time were growing, so it seemed like a good idea. So what went wrong? Well, they've had criticism at the time that the market was saturated. So there were some big players in the market, and the larger that you got, the more attraction you would get from those big players, and so you're more susceptible to price wars, poaching of employees and things like that. So the big players were Kmart and the Big W, and the biggest one was called the Reject Shop, and they had about a 30% share in the market. Also at the time, a large rise in the internet, especially with sales, and the warehouse weren't prepared or at the time for that. In Australia, there was a rise in discretionary income before the global financial crisis, and that meant that there was less demand for some of those low quality goods, more demand for the high quality goods. After the warehouse sold the Yellow Sheds in 2006, it did mean that there was a change in culture, whereas the employees were used to a family-based culture. They then the new private equity firm treated it more as an investment, and so there was less welfare for the employees. So, what was learnt from this acquisition? Well, the Australian market is different from the New Zealand market. So even in New Zealand, the warehouse might be the top dog. In Australia, they weren't, and I don't believe they did a lot of research into seeing how much of that market share they were actually going to get, and they didn't diversify themselves as much as what they could have, especially when they're looking at a horizontal merger. Today they're more focused on growing markets, and we can see that with the merger of acquisition of Noel Leeming, which they purchased for 65 million. And so what their intention was there was that they knew that there was a high demand for technology-based items, and they wanted a New Zealand firm and one where they could easily merge into their cultures, and they've seemed to have done that. Employees that were in Noel Leeming actually got a pay rise when that merger happened. And they've also looked at their strategic positioning as well, and what types of mergers and acquisitions they're looking for. They're looking for ones where they can easily merge their cultures, but also looking at more of the market demand instead of just thinking that they can go in there and take control and use a similar strategy to what's been done in New Zealand. Here are some other examples of acquisitions and mergers that they've had since 2006. I've talked about Noel Lemming. Diners Club International is actually Diners Club New Zealand, which helps them with their other businesses as well, like Noel Lemming, so able to have finance for their customers. Torpedo 7, based in Hamilton, purchased for 33 million. Again, strong family values, and Waikato chocolates. Alright, that's all I've got for today. Thank you for your time.